It was Charles Schulz, the creator of the Peanuts cartoon comic strip, one time gave a test. And here are some of the questions that he asked people to consider. He said, can you name the 5 wealthiest people that are in the world? Can you list the last 5 Heisman Trophy winners? Can you list the last 5 Miss Americas? Can you name 10 people who have won the Nobel or Pulitzer Prize? Then he asked, can you name over the last decade the winner of the World Series in each year? Now, there could be somebody here today that might be able to list those things, maybe even list all of those things. Well, good for you, I guess you could say. But Charles Schulz went on to say, he said, list a few teachers who aided you in high school. He said, can you list 3 friends who helped you through a difficult time? And then he said, name some people who made you feel special and appreciated, with whom you have enjoyed spending time. Can you name such people? Surely all of us can think of people who have aided or assisted us in some time or another, who have been friendly toward us, who have made us feel special. Surely we can do that because there is one common need here this morning, and that's every one of us needs encouragement. Every one of us. And so we continue our series this morning on the One Another Church. And this morning we want to talk about encourage one another, or as the King James Version says, wherefore comfort one another with these words. The very next chapter, chapter 5 and verse 11, I want you to notice here what he says as well. He says, wherefore comfort, or we can encourage yourselves together and edify one another, even as also ye do. The word here in both passages is parakaleo, to call alongside. And the best rendering of it is the word encouragement. This encouragement presumes that an object is under pressure. Maybe the object is very fearful, or this one is under pressure, feels overwhelmed, or maybe very, very weak. The ancient Greek authors sometimes would use this word to describe military reinforcements during battle, parakaleo. And so it is when we get the news, for example, that if somebody had lost a loved one, as Christians, what do? We run to their side, right? We rush to their side of those individuals as reinforcements to be able to give them strength, to be able to give them comfort, to encourage. We are to call alongside, that is, to help them, parakaleo. And so the Bible is a great book of encouragement, isn't it? It encourages us as Christians because God knew that Christians in particular would undergo a lot more pressure than most people, because of the fact that if you are a Christian, you live in a very hostile environment in this old world that is no friend to Christ. And so God already knew something that we needed to have in our lives before Him, and that is a whole lot of encouragement. A lot of encouragement. And so what did the writers of the New Testament do as they were guided by the Holy Spirit? Well, they encouraged Christians, didn't they? Paul wrote continually to encourage his brethren in Thessalonica. If indeed he is the writer of Hebrews, he certainly did that in that particular book. And likewise, this encouragement that we give to each other, that we are supposed to give to each other, what would also be a powerful feature of Christianity. And so a lot of people today need a support group. And God doesn't have a problem with that. He understands that we need support. We need a support group. And God says, I want the world to be able to look at the church of Christ and see a support group, the best one that is in the world. He wants people to be able to look at the church itself, for that's where you get that encouragement. He wants them to be able to see that and encourage a group of people who encourage each other through life. Because I know this, is that there are a lot of people out there in the world today that needs encouragement. A lot of encouragement. And if they can see people who are selfless, not selfish, but selfless, who are trying to encourage each other, that's going to appeal to them. And so not only is it good for us as Christians to be able to give encouragement and receive encouragement, we find that it's a great evangelistic tool as well. And so biblical encouragement, it usually can be identified in at least 4 different categories. One is affirmation. The other is praise. The third is consolation. And the fourth is the exhortation. First of all, it affirms those who do not see their value or their potential. That's what encouragement does. There are a lot of people out there in the world who don't have a lot of confidence in themselves. But biblical encouragement provides that affirmation, right? Somewhere back there a long time ago, someone took an interest in me. I'm thankful for those certain individuals that saw some value, some potential in me. And aren't you not thankful for the people who saw the value or the potential in you as well? Yes. I can remember people who never did anything else in my life but encourage me. Now, that might have been enough. While others might want to pull me down, while others might want to hold me back, but these people were pushing me forward. They were giving me the confidence, seeing my potential. And that's what Jesus was able to do. I want you to see an example of Jesus doing this in the first book of John, if you will. Because if there's ever a man who needed encouragement, surely it was the one who was named Simon, who would then become Peter. No doubt, Simon Peter would be put down, held back, criticized unmercifully, the vacillating one, Simon. And in John 1, I might have said 1 John, I meant just John 1. John 1:41, we have Andrew bringing Simon to meet Jesus. Notice, he first findeth his own brother Simon, and saith unto him, we have found the Messiah, which is, being interpreted, the Christ. And he brought him to Jesus, and when Jesus beheld him, he said, thou art Simon, the son of Jonah, thou shalt be called Cephas, which is by interpretation, a stone. Now you notice the text says, Jesus beheld him or looked upon him. That's not the usual word, beheld or look. What the word being used here means that it's something that is more intense to look or to gaze upon intently, to look into. Could Jesus do that? Yes. John 2:25, he can look into the man's heart. He can read it. He can see it. And so Jesus looks into or gazes diligently into the heart and very life of this man Simon, that he says, here is your new name, Peter, which means a rock. What did Jesus do? In his words of encouragement, he can see in Peter something that is much greater. What won the heart of Peter to Jesus was that Jesus could see his potential. He did not put him down. He says, I'm not Simon, I am now Peter, the rock. We need to be those kind of encouragers, don't we? But then number 2, this kind of encouragement praises those who are fearful of taking the initiative. Is a child learning to walk a little bit fearful of trying that? Sure. What do parents do? Well, one will get on one side of the building or the room, and the other will get on the other side, and they will do everything they can to encourage that child to get up and walk across that room. They're going to fall down for a little bit. That's okay. Go ahead, get back up. You can do it. Keep on doing it. You see, the encouragement is there. We do it all the time. We praise the child because he's trying. He's learning. He's trying to learn to walk. Parents will raise their children as they try to get them to take the initiative. Well, in 1 Thessalonians 2, in verse 11, Paul describes himself to the Thessalonian brethren as like unto a father. He says, as ye know how we exhorted and comforted and charged every one of you as a father doth his children. What does that say about Paul? That Paul was one who encouraged through praise. He was one who could affirm the brethren, and likewise he could give praise. Someone who's out there trying to do what's right. He's trying to take the initiative to be able to step out and do something that they've never done before. What can you do as an encourager? Give them praise for trying, right? It will help that person in his walk with the Lord. People in all different areas of leadership should learn this. Praise will go a long way. It was the Duke of Wellington, the one who defeated Napoleon at Waterloo. The Duke of Wellington was considered a military genius. Likewise, he was considered a man who was almost like a tyrant. He was mean, even to those who served under him. But near the end of his life, a military aide had asked the Duke of Wellington one of these questions, like, what would you do different? The Duke of Wellington said, I would give more praise. That's what I would do differently. Give more praise. To be a leader, you have to be an encourager, and you need to give plenty of praise. The third aspect of biblical encouragement is consolation. It consoles those who are down. What did Paul say? Comfort one another or encourage one another with these words. He's talking about those who, number one, are not sure about the second coming of Christ. Likewise, they're not sure about the resurrection of the dead. And likewise, not sure about where their loved ones are when they died. And what does Paul say? Well, Jesus is coming again. You can mark it down. I don't know where to mark it, but you can mark it down. Jesus is coming again, and the dead in Christ shall rise first. Right? And so if you're down and out and filled with despair, remember this: Jesus is coming again. That's the point he's making. If you are in a lot of tribulation right now, it's going to come to an end. Why? Jesus is coming again. Wherefore, encourage one another with these words. And so in 1 Thessalonians 5 and verse 14, he says, now we exhort you, brethren, warn them that are unruly, comfort the feeble-minded, support the weak, be patient toward all men. But then not only is it to console those who are down, we see the exhortation. He exhorts those who are tempted to give less than their very best. If you will observe the writings of the Apostle Paul and to the younger preacher, Timothy, what is he continually doing here? He's encouraging him not to give up. The closing chapter of 2 Timothy 4, in verse 2, he says, preach the word, be instant in season, out of season, reprove, rebuke, and exhort with all longsuffering and doctrine. Verse 5, he says, but watch thou in all things, endure afflictions, do the work of an evangelist, make full proof of thy ministry. I want you to listen to the words in Hebrews 12 and 13. The writer says, wherefore lift up the hands which hang down and the feeble knees, and make straight paths for your feet, lest that which is lame be turned out of the way, but let it rather be healed. He's saying here, I don't want you to be tripped up, right? I don't want you to be tripping each other up along the way. Encourage each other on this path. When a person wants to give up, what is your responsibility as a Christian? To encourage that person to not give up. To not give up. You see, the encourager will show someone else the benefit of persevering and realize the peril of quitting. You see, that's what Paul was trying to do on behalf of the Christian brethren and the Galatian brethren in Galatians 6 and verse 9. And let us not be weary in well-doing, for in due season we shall reap if we faint not. Don't give up. Don't give up. You see, there's a great benefit in keeping on, keeping on. Now notice how many different ways that this word is translated. This word encouragement. Encourage, comfort, console, entreat, beg, implore, counsel, urge, challenge. So many words that we can lay beside this word encourage. You see, as Christians, we are encouragers who are continually comforting and challenging through the word of God. And this encouragement is developed from a heart of compassion, isn't it? A heart of compassion with love and care. Not from judgment or accusation or condemnation. It is really developed from the heart of a triune God. In 2 Corinthians chapter 1, I want you to see how every member of the divine Godhead is considered a comforter or an encourager. 2 Corinthians chapter 1, I want you to notice verse 3, if you will. Notice what the text says. Blessed be God, even the Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, the Father of mercies, and the God of all comfort. That's it. He's the God who encourages. Then in 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, here we have reference to the second person of the Godhead, the Lord Jesus Christ. And I want you to notice in the last two verses of 2 Thessalonians 2, 16 and 17, he says, now our Lord Jesus Christ himself and God, even our Father, who have loved us and hath given us everlasting consolation and good hope through grace, comfort your hearts and establish you in every good word and work. Parakaleo, to call alongside. In 1 John 2 and verse 1, Jesus Christ is described as our advocate, right? He's called alongside to do what? That is to help or to encourage us. The same thing can be said of the Holy Spirit, because in John 14:16, Jesus is specifically speaking to his apostles. But notice what Jesus said about the Holy Spirit. He said, I will pray the Father, and he shall give you another Comforter, Paraclete, that he may abide with you forever. Call one alongside to help you. The point is that each member of the divine Godhead, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, are comforters. They are encouragers. Isn't that wonderful to know? Now, if we're going to develop the character of the divine Godhead, then we're going to have a great interest in this word encouragement. Because we want to develop that character within our own lives. And what we need to do is we need to look at some examples that we can find throughout God's Word that can help us to follow. David was running for his life from King Saul. He was constantly fatigued. He was fearful for his own life. He was always hiding. And of course, this has to bring great depression to the heart of David. But here was one who came, but there was one who came to his rescue. What was his name? Jonathan, the very son of King Saul. How interesting. In 1 Samuel 23 and verse 16, I want you to notice what is said about Jonathan. And is this not an encourager? Notice what he says. And Jonathan, Saul's son, arose and went to David in the wood. He's hiding in the woods. What did he do? He strengthened his hand in God. That's what an encourager does. Here is a man who's fighting fatigue, he's fighting fear, fighting depression, and here comes the son of his enemy, who is his friend, who brings him consolation and comfort and a word of encouragement that comes from where? Comes from God. It comes from God. If you study the ministry of the Apostle Paul, you will have to be convinced that Paul traveled the brotherhood doing what? Encouraging the congregations of the churches of our Lord. Put these verses down if you want to consider studying this word encouragement just a little bit more. Acts 14:22. Acts 14:22. Write down also Acts 16:40. Acts 16:40. Also write down Acts 20, verses 1 and 2. Acts 20, verses 1 and 2. And notice the words that are used there. Exhortation, consolation, comfort, encouragement, all being applied to the Apostle Paul and his relationship with the saints. And yet there is one who stands out in the New Testament even more so than the Apostle Paul as a great consoler or comforter, encourager, and his name is Barnabas. Barnabas. Barnabas, his very name means son of consolation. Acts 4:36 and 37. You have his encouragement to the needy saints. In Acts chapter 9, we find in 27 and 28 that he had welcomed a new convert by the name of Saul. I mean, whenever everybody else was what? Suspicious of him, right? Barnabas, the great encourager, in Acts chapter 11. Then you have him accepting these Gentile Christians. Not only that, encouraging them. But by working with them for over a year, we find that in Acts 11 and verse 25, we find him calling on this man Saul to come and engage in a work with him. Barnabas, the encourager, who saw the potential in the Apostle Paul would eclipse Barnabas in his work, but the one who would become second to his Lord as far as the recognition in the New Testament, the one who traveled the known world was Paul the Apostle, but ever encouraged by whom? By Barnabas, the son of consolation. Of course you say, well, they separated themselves later from one another. That's right. Over a young man named John Mark, that's right, who had been with them at an earlier time, but then left them. And then we find out that Barnabas was ready to take him again. We can use him again. He's repented. He's ready to go. But Paul says, oh, no, we're not. Barnabas says, we must do it. And Barnabas and John Mark will go to their separate ways. And we know the rest of that story, that Paul takes Silas and do a good work there. But the point is this. A little bit later, it would be the Apostle Paul who would say, bring John Mark to me because he's profitable to our ministry, 2 Timothy 4:11. To prove what? That Barnabas, the encourager, got it right. He got it right. Barnabas, who would not give up, who saw the potential in others, that's exactly what an encourager does. But the question could be asked with regard to encouragement, who needs it? Well, we all do. Everybody needs encouragement. There is the 26-mile Boston Marathon that takes place every year. And there is a particular place along that route called Heartbreak Hill. Maybe you've heard of it. And did you know most fans seem to gather at Heartbreak Hill, and they gather there for a reason. You see, because these runners, when they get to the base of Heartbreak Hill, that's when they're just about ready to collapse. They're about ready to collapse with exhaustion, just about ready to give up. But as they reach that point, they're able to look up and they're able to see the crowd, the fans who are gathered there and cheering them on. Encouragement. And what does that, of course? It encourages them to complete the race. You've come this far. You only have a little bit ways to go. How many people even today are at the base of Heartbreak Hill in their lives? Not sure that they can climb any higher. Not sure that they can continue on with the Christian race. They may just be about to collapse unless somebody is there to cheer them on, to encourage them. Encouraging each other. Because all Christians need encouragement. Every Christian needs somebody to cheer them on. Because you see, there are people who are suffering. There are people with sickness. They had to endure the loss of loved ones. There are family issues that have arisen. There are financial hardships, and people are under distress, need encouragement. There are some in the church who may be weary with the work that they're doing in the church. The elders have a heavy responsibility, and they meet regularly and discuss the work of the church regularly. They do their part, and they do their best to try to chart a course for us to be pleasing to God and uplifting the congregation. Sometimes criticized, most of the time not given enough credit. They can become weary, can't they? Deacons can become weary. Bible class teachers can become weary. Preachers can become weary. Anybody here this morning who's serving the Lord can become weary. What do we need? A little encouragement. A little encouragement. Oftentimes, the one out there who discourages you the most may very well likely be the one who is in most need of encouragement. How can we encourage one another? Well, encouragers must remember positive examples like I have given this morning. Encouragers need to think positively. Here's the question. When you enter a room, do you bring sunshine or gloom? Think about that. I can't answer that for you. You have to answer that for yourself. But what do you bring into a room? Do you deal with problems or do you allow problems deal with you? But an encourager must also speak positively as well. In Romans 14:19 it says, "Let us therefore follow after the things which makes for peace and things wherewith one may edify another." And so speak positively. Bring friendly speech into the relationship. Give somebody some hope out there. Don't take that away from them. Give them hope. And then avoid subtle criticisms of people and sarcastic remarks. If you have to discuss differences, then do so in a friendly and courteous manner. 1 Peter 3 reminds us of the importance of being courteous one toward another. And more important than whether our opinion is right or wrong, it's the attitude, right? It's the attitude when we're discussing the differences. Sometimes we say sticks and stones may break our bones, but words will never hurt us. That's not true, is it? That's a lie, isn't it? Because they can hurt. Therefore, the encouragers are to be very careful as to what they say. It was William Arthur Ward who once said, "Flatter me, I may not believe you. Criticize me, I may not like you. Ignore me, and I may not forgive you. Encourage me, and I will not forget you. Love me, and I may be forced to love you. That's right. And so we need to remember positive examples. We need to think positively, which in turn will allow us to speak positively. And then the encourager always has a positive plan for other people. I want to ask you to do something for yourself this morning. Do it for the Lord, if you will. I want you to list some key people that are in your life. Key people in your life this coming week that needs encouragement. And beside each name, write down how you can encourage that person. Will you do that? Will you do that? Pray about it. Keep a record, keep a journal or a calendar, but put that person's name on it. And right beside it, put down what you can do to encourage that person, because that person needs encouragement. That's how I'm going to encourage them. And think of all the creative ways that you can do to encourage people. That can be good. That could be a good hobby to be more like Christ, right? You say, I want to be an encouraging Christian. Just let me sit back and think of all the ways I can start encouraging people. We have a calendar out there on the back table with birthdays and anniversaries. They would love to get a card from you, a word of encouragement. There's a Christian service list of those who need a word of encouragement. They've lost loved ones, they've been restored, or they are having a birthday and anniversary or whatever it might be. But do whatever you can. Those who have responded to the gospel in some way. Take a dish of food to somebody. Bake a pie. Help pay somebody's bills if you're able to do that. Include someone in your plans who is not usually included. It's a great way to encourage one another. I just gave you the start, and I'm sure it's an endless list of ways that you can go about your daily basis encouraging others. The writer of Hebrews says that we're to give this encouragement daily, to do it today while it is called today. Don't put it off. Here's the bottom line. Encouragement, you see, keeps us going, doesn't it? That's our fuel in life. We come to the assembly for what purpose? And I hope it's to receive encouragement. I hope that we can get it because it's for refueling purposes, because encouragement keeps us going. Number two, it serves as a great buffer against Satan. You know, Satan is going to try, he's going to have a hard time defeating people who are continually being encouraged. Then number three, and this is most important, it makes us more like Jesus. That's our goal. He spent his time while here on earth encouraging people, and so we can do that same thing.